Zoning Commission meeting. Can we have roll call?
Mr. McNulty?
Here.
Mr. Bellis?
Here.
Ms. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Pierce?
Here.
Mr. Avadanula?
Here.
All right, so we're here to review zoning application ZON-24-06. I believe the staff has prepared a report. Can you please present it?
Thank you, Mr. Bellis. So we are here to discuss rezoning case ZON-24-06. The applicant is Gary Dunn. This is in reference to property located at 7408 Africa Road, Westerville, Ohio. It's approximately half an acre in size, and it's currently zoned farm residential, or FR1. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately half an acre from FR1 to a new planned commercial and office district, or PCD, to allow for an office and showroom use for a construction company. Property is, again, currently zoned farm residential and has an existing residence on the property. The surrounding area to the north, it's surrounded on all four sides by farm residential. To the north is Africa Road, and then to the west is Worthington Road. On the next page, you can see the zoomed out aerial. So it's sitting right there on the corner of Worthington Road and Africa Road. There's a fair amount of right-of-way across the street on both sides. It looks like those are individual properties, but again, it's a little odd, but all of that is county right-of-way for the roads. On the following page, you can see the development plan provided by the applicant. Again, approximately a 5,600 square foot office building is proposed, and parking and landscaping as well. So the applicant, I will mention, the applicant did provide updated plans as of today. I have not had time to review those in depth. You do have copies of those before you, and we'll have that on the screen later to show. But in terms of the staff report that was prepared, it was for this specific site plan. I believe the applicant did address some of the issues in their updated site plan, so bear with me as we kind of go back and forth between the two. On the next page, you can see some of the development standards and the setbacks. So proposed setbacks would be as follows. So a 50-foot building setback from Africa Road, 25-foot setback from Worthington Road, a 30-foot building setback from the eastern property line, on a 33.67-foot setback from the southern property line. So three of those setbacks would require divergences. So the Worthington Road setback, as noted in section 21.09 of the Orange Township zoning resolution, would be 70 feet because it's a Class B road according to the zoning resolution. So again, the request is 25 feet instead of the 70 feet. The 30-foot setback from the eastern property line on the 33.67-foot setback from the southern property line. Those would both be divergences because anytime there is a non-residential use abutting a residential property, that triggers an automatic 100-foot setback. The applicant is requesting divergences from those provisions. So again, 30 feet from the east and then 33.67 feet from the south. In terms of open space and landscaping, again, this is for the initial site plan, not the updated, but initially the total open space provided was 0.05 acres, which was 12.4% of the property. The minimum required open space is 25%. So according to that initial plan, it would require a divergence. The site plan provided by the applicant earlier today solves that problem. It does include more green space, and so that divergence is no longer required according to the updated site plan, because that would be over the 25% minimum. Parking, in the initial site plan, the applicant proposed a total of 14 parking spaces, which is less than what the zoning resolution would require. The calculation is done by square foot for office use, It's one parking spot for each 400 square feet of floor area, plus one for each employee. So the minimum would be 22 for this size building and number of employees. Initially on the site plan, they had proposed 14. I believe that number has been upped to 17 parking spaces with the updated site plan, but would still require that divergence from the text. In terms of lighting, the applicant is proposing number of downlit fixtures on the exterior of the building. No pole lighting is being proposed with this application. Because there is no pole lighting, that also requires a divergence because the zoning resolution says that all vehicular traffic areas and parking lot areas are to be illuminated. They are requesting a divergence from this provision to allow less lighting than what is required per code. Signage was not included in the original application package. In the updated submittal, they did include a sign plan, which would include one monument sign and then one wall sign on the building as well. In terms of divergences from the text, again, initially it was 5, it is now down to 4 with their updated site plan. So divergence from section 14.06E, requesting a divergence from the plat requirements, since the applicant is not proposing to split the current parcel or record any major easements for access or utilities. Divergence for the number of parking spaces, divergence for the 2 setbacks for residential properties for the south and to the east. Another divergence for setbacks from Worthington Road, a divergence from the requirement that all vehicular traffic areas be illuminated for the lighting, and then again the lot coverage divergence, which is no longer necessary with the updated site plan. I'll skip the comprehensive plan section, but it is in the staff report. In terms of staff comments, we do request a few different details, and some of these are addressed in the updated site plan. So we do want to see trash screening or enclosure details for the dumpster on the property. We do recommend that a 10-foot multi-use path be installed along the Africa Road frontage. In the updated site plan, the applicant has marked that as a 5-foot sidewalk, but we would like to see that as a 10-foot path. The staff comment number 3, Africa Road entrance should be flipped to the east side of the property. That is addressed in the updated site plan. And then per fire code, minimum drive aisle width around the building is 20 feet. The Orange Township Fire Department will need to approve the plans prior to approval of the rezoning by the Orange Township trustees. The fire department has not officially approved the plans as of yet, but I believe the applicant has been in contact with the fire department and is working on that approval. And then finally, while there is a water line along Africa Road, sewer service does not currently extend to the parcel. So I believe their options are to get an easement through a neighboring property for public sewer access, or to use sanitary, or to use a septic system on the property. So in the updated site plan, they show area for a septic system. So it's not necessarily 100% necessary at this point in the development process to have that tied down, but no zoning permits would be issued for the buildings if we don't have either a letter from the health department saying that septic is available and has capacity, or they can tap into public sewer. Again, as of that time of writing, the fire department has not approved the application. However, that is in the works. The Delaware County Regional Planning Commission did hear this application at their September 26th, 2024 meeting, and they did issue their recommendation of conditional approval, subject to 4 conditions. One is that the driveway should be moved as far to the east as possible. 2, preliminary drainage plan should be submitted for comment. 3, consider installing a sidewalk along Africa Road as approved by the county engineer's office. And 4, consider using parking pavers in some parking spaces and adding additional green space, again, to help with that stormwater runoff and the divergence for lot coverage. In general, we are supportive of the divergences, particularly for the parking and lighting, to reduce the development's impact on the surrounding area rather than requiring more parking and more lighting. We are in agreement to lessen those restrictions. Although this commercial property is not strictly in alignment with the comprehensive plan, it's a relatively low-impact commercial use that would be generally architecturally compatible with the surrounding area. We do recommend approval of this application, provided that staff comments are addressed to the satisfaction of the Zoning Commission, and that the applicant continues to work with the Orange Township Fire Department to ensure that their requirements are met. That concludes my staff report at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions that the Commission has.
Is there any water runoff plan, water easement plan?
So I believe that to the applicant to address. So water runoff is not strictly addressed in zoning. So as part of the building permit process, they would be required to go through the commercial engineering with the Delaware County Engineer's Office, and the stormwater issue would be addressed at that time.
Would be a county engineer issue. Okay. Does the commission have any more comments or questions for Robin? Not this moment. Is the applicant here? If you want to go ahead and walk us through your application, in particular, the new material that we just got
Yep.
would be helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, I apologize for the delay in getting that, but we had to make some additional phone calls once we got through regional planning and trying to figure out some things. As the new plan clearly shows, we've moved the entrance to the project to the east. We're basically 6 feet off of the property line with that. We're fine if necessary, which the engineer indicated that might become a right turn only. We're fine with that if we need to have that. The issue of the septic versus the sewer caused me to want to develop a plan that would handle both, and we wanted to increase the amount of green space. So this plan is showing a sewer system or a septic system. If we were able to do sewer, we would still keep that green space just as you see. I did meet with Inspector Clark with the fire department a couple of times, and yesterday he looked at this plan and felt like they would approve the plan, but he wanted the final document, which got sent to him late this afternoon. But we don't have final approval, but we I feel like we have preliminary approval for it. The request for permeable pavers, we didn't do because we were increasing the amount of green space significantly. And although from our preliminary conversations, the 14 parking spaces seemed to be adequate, we decided to go ahead and add some parking spaces just so we had that for any potential for that. So beyond that, we also added some into our landscaping, added some ornamental trees to kind of increase a little bit of the aesthetic. And our signage plan, I don't know if you want to look at that real quick. That was the absolute newest thing. If we got a slide of that. So the monument sign would be out, not in the right of way, out front, left and right facing, and then a sign on the west side of the building, as you're seeing there. It appears that we might have a few people that are in the audience that maybe aren't for this, and I maybe go back to the picture of the elevation just so I can speak to that a minute, if you could.
I think it would be helpful if you told us what this low-impact office building will do.
Thank you.
What is it for?
Right. The owner of the building is Stellar Construction, or will be Stellar Construction, and they're moving their offices hopefully from Powell to here. There's going to be 6 to 8 people in the office on a daily basis. Occasionally, hopefully more often than not, they'll have a couple of customers in there in the showroom. So the front part of the building is gonna be a showroom for various products and trades, and then offices on the first and second floor with a small amount of warehouse in the back. We will not be storing construction equipment. We don't own any construction equipment. It won't be a construction yard. It will be we hope to create a building that was very residential in nature. We'll call it rustic farmhouse or something of that nature. But just try to be as low impact as we possibly could.
I think that's the part of this, is that people would be assured that this isn't a construction office, that there be construction equipment or your construction workers or personnel that would be using this office as a headquarters.
Our project managers will come in for periodic meetings, but we're not meeting with large groups of subcontractors, or the carpenters and the painters and the drywall people aren't gonna meet here and then go out to a job site. That's not what this office will be.
So this is more for like sales?
Well, it's an administrative office, but
Okay.
yeah, the showroom is certainly designed to be give us an ability to showcase our product and guide people through the process.
And plus you have project managers. It's a place that you can talk about here, well, here's what your job is, and send those guys on their way out to the job sites.
Correct, yes.
And then you can have meetings and discuss that as what you need to from a management point of view.
Right. And again, our warehouse is things like locks and bath accessories inside. Nothing's gonna be stored outside. We're not gonna bring in bunks of lumber and have them in the parking lot or things like that. And we're basically an 8 to 5 business. I won't say there won't be people there on Saturday, maybe catching up work, or occasionally a customer needs to meet on a Saturday morning, but it's low impact from that standpoint.
If we were needed to write some of those restrictions into that, would you be opposed to that as far as some of that either construction equipment or building supplies? Just really to reiterate what you've just said.
Well, I assume so, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Lip.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going along with what you've just told us,
Right.
just to, hey, make sure to everybody that here's what everybody's agreed to.
It doesn't put a limitation on us because we weren't planning on that anyhow, so
Okay.
that's perfect.
Talk about the warehouse again, and what part of this elevation is the
Next
warehouse?
slide back is the plan. I mean, it's about the size of about a 3-car garage. I mean, it's one story. I mean, there's offices above it, so it's just designed to have some shelves and storage of those types of items.
And
We're
what
not
are the
gonna be
items
parking
again?
vehicles in there and that sort of thing. We're not washing trucks or things like that in there.
What are the items again?
Like bath accessories, plumbing accessories, door hardware, locks, maybe specialty trim products are coming in, fireplace mantles or things of that nature.
Which means that workers out in the field will have to come there to get their supplies.
Yeah, but it's not a daily thing. You might have, I don't know, a load might go out once.
There's one guy that runs a van who will periodically maybe pick things up and take it to five other locations.
For the record, could you stand up, give your name and address? Sorry.
I'm Brian Lips, I'm the owner of Solar Construction.
Okay.
There's actually usually less than 6 or 8 people in the building at any given time. There's usually only about 3. Everybody else is pretty much in the field. The salespeople are in the field all the time. The project managers all operate out of the field. There's basically somebody in the office who could greet a new customer if they happen to come in for a meeting. There's an office assistant that works in there, and a person who operates as a project manager that kind of directs people in the field. Occasionally, people will come in and out for meetings. The management team, which consists of about 8 people, only meets at the office once a week on Fridays in the middle of the day. So beyond that, they may periodically pop in and out once or twice a week or something of that nature.
So there is no truck traffic for the warehouse?
No, I mean, we don't have anything bigger than a van anyway. We have one guy who would come in and out with a van that might run, finished materials like faucets and things like that out to the guys in the field, but it's pretty lightweight as far as that kind of stuff goes. It really is mostly just an office for us.
What is your address right now in Powell?
We're at 22 Village Point Drive in Powell, so that's right over by Auto Assets, if you know where that is over there. We've been over there for 4 or 5 years now. We didn't really intend to end up in Powell. It just kind of happened for us. We're much more connected to this community than over there. I just live up Route 3 in Sunbury, and a huge portion of our clientele base is here, and we just want to be closer to that. We've been involved with the community here a lot in the last several years. Doing fundraisers with the schools and things like that, and the Kid Again charities that we like to work with. So we do repairs on kids who have disabilities or maybe terminal disabilities. We work with them around this community too, and do some of the repairs that they need so that they can try to live a better life with that charity organization.
Yeah, that's a great organization. So thank you
familiar?
thank you for your commitment to them.
You're welcome. I was one of the coolest things about getting involved with those guys was learning about how many people I actually knew that I didn't know were part of that organization and how close they are to everybody.
So one thing I noticed is you have renderings of the building, but no sort of scale elevations. How tall is the building?
It's in our text, but I believe it's 36 feet.
Yeah,
So-
I was
so the
trying to
key-
find it in the text and I might have just missed it, so.
I think we're aiming for about 12 feet ceilings on the first floor, so it feels big enough to have a decent showroom in there, just to make it nice, and 9 feet on the second story, Gary.
I believe that. I mean, it's 36 feet too. I'm almost certain.
Okay.
Correct, so the text specifies that it would be 36 feet 2 inches.
When you said the showroom, I always think of the customer coming in to pick out their
Yes.
cabinets. So the customers or the people's homes that are being built, they're gonna come in and make selections?
Yeah, so a couple times a week, there will be a client in the office having a design meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe reviewing a quote type situation prior to contract.
Can you talk about the updated one, the divergences from the west and east side from the building?
Regarding the entrance, is that what you said?
No.
So the
Distance from
building
the
setbacks.
top
is-
setbacks.
Yeah.
To the property to the east.
East and west both.
Well, essentially, we're dealing with a site that's only 106 feet wide, so we're very limited as to how we could make it work. So, I mean, it makes it essential that we obtain the divergence for that. I mean, literally, if we were to follow the guideline, we couldn't build a building.
Of course. Your divergence on the west side seems 25 feet, but here it shows 23 feet. So that's,
It's it's the total of, it's, well, I can't see without glasses. It's 25 feet to half, it's actually, 23 feet is to the edge of pavement, and then there's 2.5 feet of grass outside the pavement.
oh, okay.
To the west, yes.
And to the east?
To the east, I guess that 30-foot got dropped off. We're 30 feet from the building to the east property line.
For the Delaware Regional Planning Commission, have you gotten back to them on the preliminary drainage plan? Have you responded to them yet?
We've consulted an engineer, and he hasn't provided anything to us yet, but we know that that's a requirement, and we'll be doing that.
All right. Does the commission have any more questions for the applicant at this time?
If you had the screening for the dumpster, it was already in the plans. Nobody's asked about that yet, but
No, we don't want anybody to see the dumpster either. We just haven't gotten onto a design yet.
The landscape plan has arborvitae on the south side blocking it. And so, and there's also our apartment lighting on the east side, so neither one of those neighbors are gonna be able to see the dumpster, but if we need to put more fencing around it, we certainly will.
Yeah, usually I think we have a fence with gates or something like that.
And you are a 9 to 5 business essentially?
8 to 5.
8 to 5?
You know, it used to be you can start construction at 7, if you show up and touch them at 7, nobody shows up. I sleep in these days.
And your sign, will that be internally lit for your signage package?
On the building, the intention would just be that the can lights and the soffits are on our lighting plan are eliminated.
Okay,
And
I would think landscape lighting for the yard sign,
yeah.
the road sign.
I didn't do anything with that, and I should have, I didn't even think about it, yeah.
Well, if you follow our code for that, and I'm assuming, I should ask, if you followed the code with respect to the signage, no divergences for,
I believe I followed the sign requirement.
okay.
Robin pointed out that I needed to have a permanent base for the sign, and that's why I created this, basic
Stone basin
stone
column,
base.
yeah.
You just
Yep.
insert the sign.
Create the monument sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you follow the code, that's would be assuming here is that you're already there with the code for the, because otherwise you'd have to come back again or show up before BZA and,
Clearly, we wanted to stipulate that the sign would be absolutely conform to the
Yeah.
code, so.
it doesn't seem to me that you would need to be in any ways outside of that for what you're doing and
No.
especially you got a low impact business, it's again 8 to 5, it's, most of the people that are gonna find you know where to look. You've already told your customers, here's the directions. You don't have people driving by looking for your business, but
Yeah.
particularly.
Yeah, that is, only thing is, yeah, follow the code, make sure that the lights don't shine on people driving or
I
in the
think-
parking lot
I think
or on the neighbors.
that's all in the code, all that.
Correct,
right?
and that would be part of our review for the signage.
Yeah,
permit.
exactly, all we're
Exactly.
asking is that, you follow whatever the code is and.
Yeah, I mean, really,
for the
only
lighting.
purpose we wanted with the lighting is just we didn't see the need for parking lot lighting, given the fact that
Sure.
we're not there at night.
I got
we
you,
don't
yeah.
get invited at night.
Plus, I think that's a plus for the neighborhood.
Can hear from the neighbors.
Yeah. So if no one has any more questions for the applicant at this point?
The trees that are proposed in the renderings and in other places would block some of the view from the neighbors. Is a plan to keep them the
From
way
both,
that?
from both sides, yeah.
Yeah.
Water issues, especially for what you talk about the parking lot, that's Delaware County Engineering. A project wouldn't be approved until those were taken care of. And those gentlemen really have nothing to do with all that stuff. Next question, which I don't see here, maybe because the property isn't big enough, a retention pond. It wasn't necessary for this because of the size. I may be unfamiliar, Robin, with how those necessarily work with respect to the water issues.
Truthfully, Dennis, I'm not sure either.
Okay.
Again, that's handled
I
by,
can tell
Yeah,
you
he
point
knows.
blank, if it's required, and I'm assuming that some retention will be required, it'll either be accomplished in our expanded green area or under the parking lot. And it won't be an open retention or detention basin.
And again, at the end of the day, Delaware County handles all of that. So you're gonna hear from them, and here's what you either need to do or what they're already
Yeah,
going to
and-
do.
Your civil engineer, when you grade the property and figure out your parking lots, will also let you know whether or not you need detention. I don't know off the top of my head, you've changed the, amount of, green space versus pavement.
We've
So-
substantially increased the impermeability of the site with our parking lot of the building. than
Exactly.
what's there now. Although I did talk briefly with the engineer, the gravel, the extensive gravel driveway that's there right now actually counts in our favor
So yeah, so between the county and your civil engineer, they can advise you how to deal with water runoff, because, yeah, you're going from what was a small house to,
And at the end of the day, they're in complete control of that.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
They make all the decisions. There isn't anybody that has anything to say about any of that.
Yeah, and we've been in
outside of
contact
them.
with them, and
Yeah.
we have an understanding for what they want, and it's not a problem.
And what I've experienced sitting here for all these years is that those water issues, once Delaware County Engineering decides what it needs, are taken care of.
I'm sure.
They do a good job in the planning and decisions made.
yeah. So they'll make sure
Yeah.
that the drainage will work
It
properly
will
for
work,
the area.
exactly.
The only other thing, I'm trying to think, we do have landscaping around the site. Fire department, you've been in contact with them, they will also, work with y'all to the final approval. So I don't know if they're still concerned about turning radiuses, or how the truck's gonna get in and out, or what. That is for something then that they will let you know.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Originally, Lieutenant Park, when I showed an 18-foot drive on the east side, they were 20. Well, with other issues coming in, that goes away completely, so it's not an issue. And his only concern was to make sure I added a hydrant, which I did. And I guess I didn't put a note on that plan.
I think it's on the first page.
And he was looking at his 150-foot service distance, and he felt like his plan allowed for that, and he was basically okay with it. He wanted to study this more once I got it done, and I sent it to him, so.
And that's about all you can do.
Yeah, he'll, I felt like he was gonna approve it, but, you know, he didn't give me a rubber stamp, so.
Yeah, so that might also affect your site plan, whatever the fire department wants you to address, to make sure the building's safe for you and your neighbors.
The fundamental issue, if I may, is simply at the bottom southwest corner of the property, for the truck radius, for him to turn into that back parking area. And he felt like he didn't need that, because he felt like he could service the building without that. Because they can back 150 feet, they can't back more than 150 feet. But apparently there's been some conversation with the county, we've not been able to confirm it, that potentially we could get an easement or into the right of way for that turn area if we absolutely had to have it, if the fire department felt like it was necessary. But again, yesterday I reviewed it in detail with him, and he felt like we would, so.
And how much property is there between Worthington Road and your property line? What is that easement? Does anybody know off the top of their head? I just know what it looks like on the site plan.
It's that way. It's a bit.
It's like Robin's looking it up.
I can measure real quick.
Looks like Robin's looking it up as he speaks.
So from the property line to the edge of pavement of Worthington Road is 60 feet.
60
So
feet,
there's
okay.
roughly 90 feet between the proposed building and the
Lots
actual
of
pavement
room.
of Worthington.
Yeah, there's lots of room.
Yeah.
That's what I was just getting at, is that, you know, you're asking for the divergence for only 25-foot setback from the Worthington Road, yet from the pavement to your property line is 60 feet, so it's like, what, 80?
If the fire department needed it,
85
not an
feet
issue.
there. So, does the commission have any more questions for the applicant?
I have none.
All right, so, thank you for explaining your project. Now, we'd like to go ahead and open the floor to the neighborhood and interested parties here. Just to be brief, state your name and address for the record. Usually we like to keep it brief because it looks like there's a lot of people in the room, so if you could keep it to like 5 minutes, key points. And then if you're repeating something that your neighbor or one of your colleagues said, just keep it brief and say, I agree with them. And that way, because we want to try to get through everyone who wants to speak, we want them to have the opportunity to speak, but at the same time, we know you all have families and you don't want to be here until midnight, so. So please, come, step up.
You can adjust the microphone accordingly.
Okay, yes, thank you. I'm not very technical, but adjust the microphone accordingly, and like I said, name, address.
My name is George Garnham. I live at 7350 Africa Road, just on the other side of the pond. I had a question about the Worthington Road area. When you're traveling up Worthington Road, we just addressed that a second ago. It said it was like 90 feet or something between the building and Worthington Road, but what I'm seeing is a 2-foot strip of grass, or 2.5 feet strip of grass, plus 23 feet to the building. No, that's property line.
So that's the property line. So there's an easement that's like 60 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so the building would actually be the 80 feet or something?
Exactly.
Yeah, within that green,
Yeah, so there's
Green
that,
line right there.
there's a large amount of easement around that intersection when that intersection was redone.
Okay, so there would be 2.5 feet of grass, and the rest would be like concrete, I'm assuming, be parking lot?
Oh, so right now, that is all, as far as I know, green space easement. I have no idea, what, and
I mean,
actually,
looking at the rendering, it looked like it was 2.5 feet of grass along Worthington Road, and then parking lot.
okay. So it's, my understanding is, and applicant can correct us if we're wrong, is that there is a sort of a strip of glass on their property where, right where the yellow line is. There'll be a strip of glass there, then there'll be parking lot. The other side, to the west of that, that is the large easement. Now, is it a county easement or?
It's county, right?
It's county, that's what I assumed, but I wanted to clarify. So that is a county road easement.
Definitely getting right of way, so.
Yeah, so it's basically, it's owned by the county. Potentially, if they ever have to, you know, maybe add extra turn lanes or something like that. So nothing will be built on that,
I see.
except
And
unless it's
entrance to
road
the buil-
related.
The entrance to the building along Africa Road? I'm not sure the distance between the entrance to the building and the actual intersection itself. It looked like it might have been about 80 feet or so. What I was concerned about, if you're traveling north on Africa Road, I think there's a left turn lane, there's a right turn lane, and there's one that goes straight north. Is that entrance to the building gonna be cutting into that left-hand turn lane? Is it gonna be a backup of traffic there because it's, you know what I mean? Because it's backing, wouldn't it be right on that left-hand turn lane?
So that was why, as far as I know, that was why the township and the regional planning suggested that they move the access drive from where it's currently shown for the residents on the west side of the property to the east side of the property, which is what the revised application or the revised drawings show, that they moved it as far to the east side of the property as
I'm trying to
possible.
get my directions right, the west side.
so
and
so
east
you
side.
see, go back to your, okay, well, yeah.
So you can see where the driveway.
So you see where the driveway is right now?
No.
You see within the yellow line there, the yellow and green, let's see, yeah, right there? All right, and then he's gonna move it to show you where it's gonna be placed. There you go. Entrance will move all the way down there, yes.
On the other
Yeah.
side.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is to try to keep it away from that intersection, just as a safety feature. Generally, curb cuts are dictated by the county, whoever has jurisdiction over the road.
Okay, most of the landscaping seems to be, I'm trying to get my directions right here. Most of the new landscaping is gonna be on the west side and the south side. But there's no landscaping, it'll only be that 2.5 foot strip of grass along Worthington Road, if I'm correct, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, that answers my
south and
question.
All right.
east side.
Thanks.
You good?
Yep.
All right.
They're gonna put is it walkway gonna be,
walking.
So
The
there will be a sidewalk.
Yeah.
I believe what you have shown is like a 5-foot sidewalk, but the township recommends a 10-foot multi-purpose trail. I'm assuming, and Robin, maybe you can answer, that's part of our comprehensive park linkage plan?
Correct.
Okay.
Tom Garski, 7364 Worthington Road, so I'm just up the street from here. I just don't feel like this is the place for this building. Nothing against Stellar Construction and what they do, I appreciate that, but this is meant to be a residential area, and one of the issues I have, a few issues. One is the variances that are being requested, especially for setback, are concerning for somebody who owns property there, because the precedent that may get set here is that somebody else wants to build on the other corner, and all of a sudden they're 25 feet away from my house, and I don't want that. The guidelines that are set by the zoning commission, I think should be followed for residential areas, and that's what this is, and that's just too drastic a variance to request for something like this. I appreciate what they say about not storing equipment and stuff like that, but even with the provision added in there, there's nothing that says that couldn't happen down the road. I don't know how it would be enforced.
It is enforced. I guarantee you, if those are written in, those are enforced.
And probably the biggest issue I have is the fact that if this gets changed to commercial and, different zoning, Stellar Construction may be there and it may be fine for a few years or however long, but once they're gone, if they're gone, that could become anything. And I don't want to see, another commercial establishment right there in the corner close to all those houses that might not be as attractive as the building that they're going to build. So it's just not it's not the area for it. There's plenty of other places that are very close by that are commercial, spots that they could go to that would do all the same needs and not impact the residential atmosphere that we have going on right there. So,
Do you still have the map of the area? So I was trying to figure out where you live in relationship to this intersection.
so I'm up the street from to the north of Africa Road, about 3 houses up, just off the map. Yeah, that's my house right there.
Okay.
So if anything happens with the corner and the people next to it are selling their house and somebody buys that, and then my next door neighbor has already said if this goes, he's gonna sell his house, next thing you know, I got a big piece of land that some developer wants to buy and build a building, and they're encroaching on my property, so.
So, because I'll be honest, what I'm dealing with personally, trying to figure this out, is I understand your concern. If this goes commercial, the whole area is gonna go commercial. This is now a somewhat busy intersection. I'm not sure, what was that? I'm trying to be nice here. When I've driven on it, it's usually on the weekends with the kids and stuff, and it appears very busy to me, so, but I normally don't drive on it, on weekdays, but mostly on weekends. It's a busy intersection, all right? So I'm trying to figure out, when they did the road construction, it looks like several lots were taken as part of easements by the county. And then what happens to the remaining lots that are there on that intersection? Do you actually think that somebody is going to buy that house and improve it?
It's better than having an office building 25 feet away.
So that's my thing is, and with the setbacks that are required, this lot is not buildable. If it's,
Residentially, it is. Well, but here's.
that is considered then a taking.
At the end of the day, this is still within our zoning code, within Delaware County planning. There's other bigger forces here that have already said this is permissible.
Permissible, but it's quite a drastic variance. When you're asking for 5 variances that are that substantial, that's quite a bit different than what was intended here. That's my issue.
Mm-hmm.
If it was 5 feet and we want to do this, to put something in, that's one thing. You talk about 5 substantial variances that I don't think should be considered. Let's stick with the zoning that was put in place.
And so
That's
that's,
all.
I guess my concern is that, what could happen to that?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Ruoff. I live at 7327 Africa Road. So I am across and just around the corner. not the place for it. I love what they do. I love the building, everything about it. I'm a realtor. I love interior design. I'm taking classes to be interior designer, everything about it. This isn't the place for that. I do have to say, Mr. McNulty, you were outside when we pulled up talking to them, and you've been selling this thing this whole meeting, and I feel like there is a conflict of interest in this.
No. Here's what I stand on, is that there are forces we can
No,
say-
but even when they were talking,
I know,
you
I want
were-
to, listen a minute, hear me out. I can say no to this and agree with you, and they could sue because this is permissible. We can't say here and say no unless it's not in our code
Well, okay,
or
but
not
wait,
in our thing.
there are
And
5
I could say-
divergences. That is a lot. You're putting a square peg in a round hole. I love the building. It just, there's a better place for it. I can't pull into my driveway without almost getting rear-ended.
Here-
I had to fight. You can search on Facebook, Olentangy Schools, and you can see a post I made where I had to call the school district over and over and over again because people are running our lights, because they're running our bus lights. You think they're gonna pay attention to a right turn only? No. People get rear-ended. That corner is so dangerous. It's scary to have my kids in the car driving through there after the county did that. It is not a safe place for it. There are so many other places. And when they say that down the line that zoning is gonna pay attention to what those zonings are, the house that is behind that is owned by a real estate company that has Auction Ohio. All of their garbage is out there. I have filed complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint, and nothing is getting done. So why are we changing this residential neighborhood and putting construction? Let them build somewhere else. Gemini has all that empty space. North, there's all these other spaces. Why are we putting that into a residential neighborhood? It really is not the place for it. If they have to have a septic, where's the septic tank gonna go? I know that's not your guys' issue, but you think any of the neighbors literally, these are all the neighbors. Do you think they're gonna let them have an easement to get in? No. Like, this is a residential neighborhood. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with any of it, but there is a place for these types of businesses. And honestly, even if that were a mile up the road, I probably wouldn't fight it. The lady behind us bought a house and she's running a daycare out of it. Do you guys, nobody's done anything about it. It's a business and a house. You can't, we're taking the community plan and we're changing that from what it is supposed to be. And that is not what this is intended for. I don't care what the engineers say, because they literally have created a death trap for all of us with that road, with how they did it. And it took them 6 years to do that for us. Like, it's not the time or place for this. There's so many other places. That house sold in 2021 for $145,000, a little shy of that, $144,800. Now they want $350,000. This is a money pull. He's getting land cheap to be able to build something, and then no one's benefiting from it except for those two entities. While the community itself, our neighbors, obviously we all talk to each other, are going to be the ones who, even 7 extra cars is dangerous for there. And we've been complaining to the county for months about this, and they will not fix that intersection. And so why are we gonna add another problem, a potential problem to it? Maybe not now, but maybe down the road. Like, let's keep it residential.
Here is your best and only chance, because we still have to, as we sit here, have to adhere. We are already caught in the system as it exists. And the system is, this is approved. There's lots of things that this is approved. The only way this could be stopped is through the trustees.
Oh, I plan on talking to the trustees, believe me.
And that's your spot, is show up in the trustee meeting. That is your spot, because here, we really can't, unless there's something well
You
off.
could say no.
I can, but they could.
But you don't want to, because I feel like you have an interest in the
I already
community.
told you I can't. They could sue the township if we're trying to say no to something that is permissible. It's
well,
It isn't
permissible.
permissible, there are 5
It is
divergences, it's
permissible.
not, you're putting
Yeah.
a square peg in a round hole.
I think we hear you, we certainly understand your
But your
perspective,
only spot is
and
the trustees, show up the trustee meeting.
and I'm not so quick to, I'm with you from the perspective of, do we have a right to say yes or no? Certainly, there are divergences that are being requested. We have a right to say whether or not that makes sense. We're, that's why we're asking community to have their input so that we can understand that. So
So-
I
Yeah,
think
so we
you're-
can understand your
yeah,
concerns.
so-
Yeah, but this is,
Yeah,
that's it, and you're gonna hear probably the same thing from everybody. It's not anything against them, it's just, this isn't the place.
okay, thank you.
And to be honest, we have no control over the county and the roads.
Yeah.
This was something that, is part of their greater plan.
Hi, I'm Peter Mason, 7455 Red Maple Place. We get to see this new building from our sunroom, and we are in a residential. I'm not sure I'm fairly new to the community, so I'm not sure who you're beholden to, and I thought this was a hearing, and I thought that
And it
the
is.
hearing was designed to get the neighbor's opinion to make divergencies on a piece of property. I think, sir, you're stating something pretty insightful to me as a new person, that this is not actually going to be a real decision tonight. But let me just say, the issue is that all of those properties could make the same requests. I used to be a builder. I can't believe how many divergencies are. Basically, we're putting a piece of concrete in a residential community and asking the neighbors to say that's just fine. I am concerned about the traffic, but would you want that in your neighborhood, I guess I'd say? If the lot next to you had this application, I can't imagine if I went to your home that you'd say, that would be ideal for my community to have that in my neighborhood. So we're the neighbors, we're part of your community. We're relatively new to your community. We're part of a community of 150 homes that adjoin this property. The builder, the purchaser of the property right next to us, is going to come and do the same thing. He's going to ask you for divergencies to put another building or multiple office buildings. So basically, you've turned a residential farm area into an office park. I don't know if you noticed, there's lots of office space available, not in a residential farm community. It's beautiful. I drive up and we have a beautiful area. We'd like to retain that. And we'd appreciate if you were our advocates, not whoever you're beholden to. I don't know who you're afraid of. System. Yeah, I don't know systems, but man, I have no idea. This sounds like I'm from New York. It sounds like.
But the truth is, you heard it.
What?
You heard how this works. You heard from Delaware County Planning. There are other people who make decisions for this. It isn't just these 5 people.
It's not the zoning board that decides what can be built on a piece of
There's lots of other
property.
people that make decisions for what takes place, and some things were taking place 10, 15 years ago. Here's what we decided for the land, here's what the look ahead, the future. And so all this stuff is already kind of in place. And yes, we can say no and agree with you. We hear you. I think those are great arguments. They're great arguments.
I wanted to let others speak. I'm
they're-
getting a real insight into the
And they are,
community, yeah,
and
that's
those
for
are
sure.
legitimate arguments. Everything that's been said has been very legitimate in
Yes,
every
and
way.
so you're saying the next step is the Board of Trustees
So
have been
that
paid
is-
something by
that is your
somebody
that's your best
to
step.
do this.
But-
Okay,
So
gotcha.
so basically, right now, the property is farm residential, which has its own category, but quite frankly, I would say somewhat obsolete, considering where this whole area has gone.
The whole area. We are the whole area.
Well,
We're-
but you're zoned farm residential. Usually, if
that.
you're
That's a
farm
good answer.
residential, you're over 5 acres.
Yeah.
That property's a half an acre.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at. Farm residential is usually 5 acres or over. All right? So that's one thing. The other thing is like Mr. McNulty said, our regional county planning commission has reviewed it and given their recommendation. The staff here at Orange Township has reviewed the application, given their recommendation. We, the zoning commission.
Are beholden to them.
Who are, you know.
We can give our recommendation.
We give our recommendation to the trustees. We live here in the community, all right? I live off of Old State. Other people, we all live in the township.
Well, I
okay?
want,
So we're in the community.
You're speaking to a lot of folks, and I want to let them speak because obviously you,
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about Orange Township.
Exactly, so that's what I'm trying to explain.
I'm getting my ABCs done today.
We make a recommendation to the zoning commission makes a recommendation to the trustees. The trustees, they are elected officials. There are 3 of them. There's even an election coming up, I believe, for some of them. I'm
They
not
make the
sure.
final decision.
They make the final decision
Well-
because they are the elected people. We
You're
make
appointed, you're appointed.
We're appointed, usually because we live in the community, and some of us have backgrounds that help, all right? I'm a planner and an architect. I'll just put that out there. Okay? So, and we try to use our knowledge of planning, in my case, planning and architecture, to try to guide the development of this community. But again, what we make is a recommendation. Does that help explain the process?
It does.
Okay, all right.
I'm curious, for the applicant, any reach out to the community prior to today's meeting or any conversations, discussions on what you'd like to?
We've made some effort to reach out to the adjoining neighbors, but no avail so far.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Are there any more comments?
Hi, my name is Susie Ross. I live at 6792 South Old State Road. My daughter is Jen Ruoff. I travel this intersection a lot because I help her with her kids. It's a very dangerous intersection. With where the access is, this is anyone who wants to turn left into this property is going to block the turn lane. Anyone who wants to turn right into it is going to get the wrath of whoever is turning that corner or coming past my daughter's house heading east, because they run bus lights every day and they speed through there, and if you check, there are lots of accidents. With moving the driveway so that it is further to the east, it's now right up against the neighbors. So you've taken away their 100 feet with a divergence, and now you're going to put a driveway right up against their house. And I'll tell you, arborvitaes are not going to provide them any protection. They're the cheapest tree there are, they die quickly, and they're not usually replaced. And I just want to speak to each of you in that when you sit on this board, you're not supposed to just give in to whatever the recommendations are. You're supposed to listen to everything and take the community information and their opinions and what they're giving you with the same weight as what is given by the applicant. And when you look at this, if you're afraid of being sued, when they go and it's not a done deal that you just change zoning on a property. Okay, so they take you to court. They take the trustees to court and the township, and they say, okay, you're not gonna let us do what we want to on this, okay? Well, but you wanted this divergence, and you wanted this that's not safe, and you're gonna put this right up against the neighbors. And this house is almost 3 stories high. It's not just like a 2-story house there. It's really tall. It's gonna have a sign out front that, has lighting on it. You're changing the entire look of that neighborhood by allowing this here. And it sounds like you've already made your decision. Now, you may not have, but it's how it sounds. And it makes these people feel, and the rest of us who live in the township, like you really aren't listening.
Try to get somebody else. If you have the same
Well, let me just say for the record, for me, I have not made a decision. That's why you're here, and I'm listening to each of your concerns and taking those things in consideration. I don't subscribe to the notion that, hey, it's already decided. I mean, as someone pointed out a little earlier, there are some divergences that are requested. We're here to recommend, hear the staff, hear what Delaware County and the rest of them have said. But at the end of the day, our recommendation is what it is, and then ultimately it goes to the trustees to make any final decision on
Yeah.
that.
And
Okay.
agreed, it's not, we're here to discuss this and listen to you all. Yes, so is there anybody else in, okay?
Something different.
All right. Do you have any, state your name?
Well, I'm the one everyone hates. My name's Henry Lovett, under 7408 Africa Road, the property. This property here that they're looking to buy and build their office. I don't know anywhere at state, but we do not have a problem with it. If these people had a problem with it, they should have brought the property 2 years ago when it was for sale. 2 years ago, Giant Eagle was looking to buy all the property. Karen behind us, the 5 acres, she was selling the Giant Eagle. And as long as they got us and the other 3 properties. And the only people that held it up was Brian and his wife, because they want like $2 million for their property for 2.5 acres. Karen sold for $825, $850. $350, no big deal. But it could have been a Giant Eagle, because money talks. And it did not go because they couldn't get the 2.5 acres that they wanted. I mean, I think people are just making an issue because of where it's at. Even with the improvements, the changes they did on the plans, it all looks good. You know, from what we've seen and heard, it all looks good. And that intersection, when they redid it, is the biggest improvement since I've been there. And since they finished the project, there has not been accidents every week like it was back then. I know people can laugh about, but you can look at the police report, the fire, Galena Township comes all the time, and there was an accident there. I went out and helped people. That intersection is the biggest improvement, just with getting the turning lanes in.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anybody else, that has something new to add to the conversation? Okay.
I agree with everybody except this last gentleman. My name's Mary McCrory. I live at 7473 Red Maple Place. The condominium complex that is behind these properties, villas at Maple Creek, we have a concern about it. I came to your meeting in March when you were talking about your zoning resolution changes. And my question has to do with the buffer zones. So if you put up the diagram of the place, if you could, you know, the schematic of what the place is gonna look like. I'm just wondering where the buffer zones are, because it looks to me like properties on, and I can't say east and west and north and south because I don't know those, but where the parking lot is, it looks like there is a neighbor on the other side of that, and there's just a little strip of green. Where are the buffer zones? What are the neighbors who are all residential neighbors going to see of this place? And you said you were gonna put buffer zones between commercial, industrial, and residential properties. Where are they?
So, I can't, you know, this is not my site plan per se, so if the applicant wants to come up and discuss it, that's fine. But, to the left, which is the west, that is, easement for the road.
Right.
So,
Which
you know,
isn't really, but yeah.
yeah,
okay.
so that's sort of its own
What about
buffer zone.
on this
To the east side, there is a residential property, you are correct. And to the south side, there is a large residential property as well.
Right.
And then to the north side is Africa Road.
Right. So the south side, it looks like they're gonna see the parking lot. It looks like a little, maybe some bushes along there, but is that a buffer zone? You
That
guys are
is-
the ones who set
That
this
is,
up.
that is, you know, your interpretation of the code. Whether or
No,
not that
no,
is
I'm asking for your
a
interpretation.
satisfactory buffer zone.
I didn't write the code, you guys did.
Exactly.
You revised it.
Actually,
Put that
we're
in.
revising it, but you are correct. Some of us inherited the code, but yes, that is, it depends what your interpretation of a buffer zone is. And how large a buffer zone is, again, open to interpretation.
It's a concern.
Okay,
For
so,
the surrounding neighbors. The other thing is, and I heard you say that it was going to, they were trying to get it to be just a right turn only into the, you know, up Worthington Road, turn right on Africa and then right into the property. And I agree with most of what was said about the intersection. I was just on it yesterday at 5 o'clock, and it was, you know, just horrible, horrendous. And there's no way that I could see that anybody could turn left into that property without getting creamed. And coming around the corner, you know, I think there are issues there too. In my community, our roads are all private roads. We don't have sidewalks and people walk the roads. When we have cut-through traffic, which is a fear that I have here with some of this, especially if people are required to turn right, it's very dangerous for my community. We get people who speed through and trucks and things that come through, and it's really a concern. When there was a huge accident on the corner of Worthington Road and Africa Road within this last year, and the poor cop that was in the middle of Worthington Road diverting traffic through my community, which was bumper to bumper, you know, through, it was horrible. There are people who don't talk to me anymore because they were saying, "What are you gonna do about this? We want gates." I said, "Gates wouldn't help." You know, if it's an accident, it's one thing, but if people have to get to this place, and it sounds like it's gonna be more than just the people working there, and, you know, what's to keep them from diverting through my community. And once this place goes, if it does, then others, and the same thing is gonna be compounded. So those are my concerns.
thank you. All right, is there anybody else that has something new to add to the conversation? Okay.
I happen to be the property owner to the east. I'm
Okay.
Brian Ross, 7420 Africa Road. Biggest issue I've got is I've been in front of the zoning here in Delaware County and all that, and the easement has taken away a half acre of my frontage. They've taken it back. They've given me an easement that blows my tires on my lawnmower every time I try to mow it. So I've quit mowing what you guys have taken away. On this, I see a lot of hard pavement and building where there used to be a lot of green space. Where it used to be at least 80% green space, now we're looking at 20–25%. This property all goes down, kind of slopes to the southeast corner. We have trees that's been there for quite a while. It'd be nice if that didn't become a lake. So as far as the drainage, that's a big concern on my part. Because you turn that whole corner or that area into a lake without proper drainage. If the sewage doesn't get put into that property, they're gonna have to have one very large French drain under the entire property to compensate for that. As far as shrubs in between properties, that just doesn't cut it. You know, I would want something at least 6–8 feet tall to kind of hide and kind of protect as far as privacy of my residential property. I don't know about the folks to the south. I would think they would want the same. But I've tried to stand up against you know, the commissions and the trustees and that, and I've gotten bitten 3 times. So at least I want to focus on what's going to make this thing, at least so it doesn't destroy other parts of my property.
Okay, understood. Because we do know, obviously, drainage would be an
Drainage
issue.
is a very large issue
And,
on this property.
That is something that generally the county engineer
And if I can get that information, I'd greatly appreciate it because I need to get hold of them.
Okay. Robin, I think, would probably be your best contact there, so after the meeting or at any time, when he's in the office, you could probably contact him, especially if any of y'all have issues with like drainage or traffic. That's really not, unfortunately, a township issue, it's a larger county issue.
And when people talk about how this is a neighborhood and they're concerned about pulling in and out of driveways, I back into my driveway every day because you can't pull out backwards out of a drive in this section.
Brian, if you were to all living in cars in your lot, you'd boil in your driveway. You got a boat up back, the street growing through.
Okay. All right, let's keep it civil. All right, let's keep it civil. We're all neighbors, we're all live in the community here.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
that is, please.
You had your opportunity to speak. Sir, sir, you had your opportunity to speak. Your
Now-
neighbor has spoken. We heard him.
We've heard
We
you.
moved on.
Someone else? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Can you just, exactly, this is a public hearing. So if there's anyone else in the community or who would like to speak, please state your name. Something, please, add something new to the conversation.
My name's Jack Saunders, 7378 Worthington Road. As far as the commission goes, our property values will go down if this is zoned different. One day it's going to be residential, next day it's going to be commercial. And you got empty lots across the street. What are they going to do with them? Are they going to put a gas station up there or?
As far as I know, I believe what you think is an empty lot is actually easement.
It belongs to Delaware County now because they tore the
Exactly.
houses down.
It's Delaware County owns it as part of
Yeah.
the easement
And
for
across
that
the street, well,
intersection.
they took down 5 houses there.
Yes.
And what's going to happen to my property value if this is changed? I'm totally against this. I just want to say that. You know, they got those empty lots there. Somebody's going to do something with them one of these days. I like it the way it is now, but, you know, and I'm against his building. And nobody contacted us about that. You know, we would have had something to say to him about it. You know, it's not good for the neighborhood or nobody else around there. Too much traffic right now, wrecks all the time. You know, if you guys don't make a decision on zoning, well, who does make the decisions on zoning?
Township trustees will make a decision.
Yeah, township trustees, but the intersection, those roads are county roads.
Yeah,
The
I know
county,
that.
Delaware
I've lived
County
out there
makes those
23
decisions.
years.
We don't have jurisdiction over county roads.
Well, how do you do the zoning then?
We basically have to then address their, I hate to say,
Delaware County Engineering makes decisions about, here, these roads, and this is limited traffic, so this didn't concern them, there's 6 employees.
Yeah,
So,
they-
but anything else major, they're gonna do traffic studies and say, hey, traffic's not gonna work, or decide, like, we moved this, we moved that
That's
driveway
too much
back.
traffic now, hell.
But this isn't going to add to your traffic.
I don't think so.
The gas station that goes in after this is gonna have.
well, so that actually,
Say, what happens to you people when you make this decision here and you say, okay, it's all right to build that building, and the road, the house, land across the street, and they said, well, okay, we can make ourselves a gas station or a speedway or, you know, whatever else they want to put in there. Is this just for one area that would be commercial? Is it gonna be all the way down the road? Like you got the lakes up there.
So,
I
Robin,
bet
do you
you
want
$50
to?
they wouldn't change that.
He'll give you an answer.
I was gonna say, Robin, can you help address that?
Yeah, so this is what's called a planned district for just this one parcel. And so because it's a planned district, it's written into the zoning that this can only be this specific office. So it's, if at any point a gas station did want to come in 20 years down the line, they would have to go through the same process of rezoning to a different plan.
You guys would be afraid of being sued by them. if they
Well,
didn't do
currently,
it.
gas stations are not permitted in these areas.
Well, this building shouldn't be permitted.
Here, I can show you some things that are not permitted for this area. This particular one, because it was low impact, kind of looked like a residential, it was low impact with respect to the traffic in
Story's
and
high,
out.
it don't look like no house out there.
So it is 30, that's why I asked, it's 36 feet 2 inches tall. Standard residential zoning, and Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, is 35 feet tall.
Correct.
All right, and that's your standard two-story house, is 35 feet tall. So they have capped it at the same height as a residence. Whereas if it was
If you
commercial,
look at it, you're gonna
they
know what
could,
it's gonna be.
they could go up to, I think, 50 feet or something like that. So the applicant has taken into account that this is a residential neighborhood with the height that they have capped their application at.
Only thing I'm saying, my property value is gonna go down because of that building.
Okay.
Wouldn't you agree? You live out here.
Generally, I try not to factor in property values because they come and go as the economy comes and goes.
Yeah, that's another story, isn't it? The economy.
So, all right. Is there anybody else that has a new item to bring up to this conversation? All right. Does the applicant have anything to say to address some of the concerns from the public?
I don't know what we have already said or provided.
Okay, perfect. The commission,
What's the next step in terms of, you can't, you're going to give a recommendation to the board of trustees. We just heard last week about this meeting, so we kind of appreciate communication. When would the next meeting where we can appear to speak to those that actually are going to make the decision?
so generally, and committee, Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we, it sounds like, the application is the application. It does not sound like, any major revisions are gonna be made to the application, so we would vote on it. We would recommend either yes, this is something, that, could be tweaked, and approved, or no, this is something that has so many issues that it can't be resolved. Is that a fair way to state it?
Yes, and so in terms of the process, so once the zoning commission makes its recommendation, it proceeds to our board of trustees, who are the elected officials. So they will set that meeting date at their next regular meeting, which is next week. So next Wednesday, they would set the next hearing date, which has to be at least 10 days out so that we have time to provide notice to you all. So I'd say likely it would be the first week of the next month, which is November, which I'm now remembering. But it could be somewhere in that time.
So providing our emails, you will send us notices?
Sure, we can.
So that was, I was gonna say, so the best, how should they best receive that public notice? Via email from you, or generally it's also posted on the township agenda meetings?
Yeah, so it would be on our website, it'll be on our Facebook page. You can watch the trustee meeting next week to find out that hearing date. We do send mailings to any property within 200 feet, or you can call our zoning office. My card is out there if you want to grab it. I'm happy to email anybody who gives their email.
Okay, Does anybody on the commission have any questions or anything they want to add, or thoughts, or things they want to discuss among the commission?
Nothing for me.
We have three options, right?
What was that?
We have three options.
Approval with my approval or denial.
Oh,
Okay.
is that what you want?
Yeah.
So I would say yes. So we have denial, approval with considerations, or approval. Okay, so we have three possibilities, right?
Is there an abstain option?
Can you vote?
Not really, no.
Table it either.
Yeah, and we cannot table it either.
Got it.
Yeah, so we have to take in view of the application that was submitted. The modifications we got at the last minute, and then public comments from the public, comments from the staff, comments from regional planning, and then the application's presentation as well, under consideration. So, can I have a motion from someone on the board? I know this is very difficult and tense.
Well, are we asking for some modification, or there's some modifications that need to be done, some things that need to be clarified out? Oh, there's a list of these?
There's a list of modifications.
Yeah,
So,
if the board chooses to recommend approval with modifications, I did pre-write some modifications in there based on the comments that we had previously, like obtaining approval from the fire department. The commission is free to add any modifications that you so choose. You would need to read those out individually.
With the comment about the list of things that would have to be prohibited, Commissioner Alsey commented on, said that it could be written into the code. Would that also be a modification?
It can be.
it can
we
be,
just need specifics.
I would first have to consult in the application what they have already listed as prohibited uses before we add new ones to them.
I think with like parking the trucks and things, that conversation, no trucks would be parked there, and
I think they're using the warehouse for construction equipment.
yeah.
No construction vehicles. They're kind of things that you would have already told us.
No storage of materials outside, construction vehicles or construction equipment parked outside. So you want to stipulate that. You mentioned the minor activity walkway, we certainly have no problems with that.
Robin, I'm curious on the question on the buffer zone. Is there a definition? Do we have a definition?
Not in our current code, so I believe what was referenced was in our draft zoning code. We do have specific buffer zones, but that code is not in place yet.
Okay, I
Not yet.
know that. But,
We do have specific buffer zones in our draft.
In the draft, yes, but that is not the text that you're working with.
But it is defined, is what I'm
Yes,
wondering.
yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Do we have a list of those, are we working, finding them?
I have noted down a few.
You mean list that was commented this evening, or the list?
No.
List of prohibited
Right.
uses.
Yeah, the
I
ones
have
that suggested prohibitive
No
uses
construction
or,
vehicles on the property,
no
no
outside
storage
storage.
of materials.
No outside storage and no construction materials.
Yeah.
we also need a dumpster
Screening.
screening, fence, detail.
Should the height come down to 35? I know it's just a
Looking
foot.
at 36.2.
I mean, if you wanna,
I think that's nitpicking. I mean, if you want to get, that's up to you. I would say no.
A bunch of other things went on there. I'm just curious.
I was just gonna say, I don't think you're gonna notice that.
Yeah, I'm just not noticing it, but at least it's ensuring that the community is heard to some degree.
The issues for this are a lot bigger, and the height of the building isn't one of them. The issue is the existence of this of any kind.
Yeah.
So nitpicking for over a foot on the building is, in my opinion, it's a non-issue.
What if the residents want to sue us for
Because
ignoring?
that's not gonna matter
For
to them.
ignoring.
You can make it 35 feet, is that gonna matter to people? No.
It may.
Not gonna matter to what we heard.
The point of ensuring that they're heard. Yeah. Just curious on your height of your building, it's 36.2, and I understand for a residential two-story home, max is 35. Any challenges about bringing it down a foot and 1.2 foot? Sounds good to me. Not important to them, but it sounds
In the
good to me,
bigger
and I
scheme
think
of
that ought to
things.
be, and that is one of our limitations. So who's gonna roll these things out? Are we not ready, or what's our story?
It's your story, it's your
Well,
motion.
I'm not excited about it, so.
I don't think anybody
wanna
is.
roll it out.
I don't think anybody is.
I mean, if you have a list, I'll read it. Anybody have a list? What are we doing here? Okay, you wanna read? You wanna read your list?
And you said, and reduce.
Yeah.
Height.
Yeah.
Building. I don't know if you can read my writing.
Sure, what does it say?
I don't know. I've been an actor.
No,
No
okay.
constructive vehicles.
Yeah, no storage, no,
Construction materials.
no construction material, need a dumpster, screening box, and, reduce height of the building by 1.2 foot. Anything else you all want to add other than what we already have?
That'd be great, man.
Huh?
That sounds great. That's where we wanted to go.
Okay, all right. Okay, you ready? All right.
All right, can I have a motion from the board?
Yes, yes, that's what I said. Okay, no worries. All right, and I need to read this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. All right.
Listen up.
Hit the zipper. Okay, gentlemen. Yeah, come on.
Thank you.
Okay. So motion by Leslie Pierce to recommend to the Board of Township Trustees, the board, the approval with modifications of zoning application number ZON-24-06, the pages of which are each stamped received with Orange Township zoning on 9/13/24, requesting the rezoning of 0.50 plus or minus acres from Farm Residential District FR1 to Planned Commercial and Office District PCD, including the requested divergences upon finding that it is in the interest of the public convenience, comfort, prosperity, or general welfare, or sufficiently in accordance with the comprehensive plan and including additional modifications listed below. One is the applicant will provide evidence that the Orange Township Fire Department has reviewed and approved the site plan prior to approval of the rezoning by the Orange Township trustees. Two, the applicant will revise the site plan to include a 10-foot multi-use path along the frontage of Africa Road. Three, the applicant will revise the site plan to move the Africa Road entrance to the eastern portion of the property. Four, no construction vehicles will be on site. Five is no storage of construction material. Six is no construction materials again? No construction materials, I guess in general, huh? Outside of the storage building. Seven, dumpster on site will need screening for it, and reduce height of building by 1.2 foot, and that is it.
I second. Yeah, go ahead.
Aren't you only gonna have a van?
So you,
I thought,
We have trucks, and then they drive trucks, they'll eat trucks there, they're not left overnight. They take them all, they're in vans, they're not driving trucks, they're regular size vans.
right, I understand.
Okay, so there,
We weren't gonna be storing construction equipment.
okay, so I guess that there's a misconception of, you have vans which are about the size of like a minivan, correct? Or a regular full-size van. Okay, so it's like a maintenance van.
They're not stored on site, they don't meet there every day. One may come in and out occasionally, but they're not stored or parked in a lot.
Okay, so, how do you want to revise that?
We had vehicles. We had no
Yeah, no
construction
construction
vehicles.
vehicles.
We didn't say trucks, it was vehicles.
So,
But we need to clarify.
concrete mixers and all of those.
yeah, so when you talk about trucks, what kind of,
It's a passenger.
Well,
yeah, but you're not gonna have construction trucks like mixers, and
So,
those will not be there.
so we're talking like a box truck versus like a pickup truck. Okay,
Okay. All right, so let me change this up just a little bit. No construction vehicles to include such heavy equipment of vehicles.
That's
It'll
really
be
what
light
it was
use,
about. It was more about
light
heavy
use
trucks or
vehicles.
heavy equipment.
Yeah, light use vehicles. Okay. Okay. All right.
Motion made by Mr. Pierce. Do we have a second?
I second.
Mr. McNulty? Voting, Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Bellis?
all right, I'm gonna say this. I understand the public's concerns. My issue, and I'm gonna vote yes, is because I do not know a use for this property at that intersection,
Yep.
to be honest. So I will vote yes. I understand your concerns. I know this is not ideal, but I also feel like this is the best use for that property.
Ms. Foster?
yes, but it's with reservation.
Mr. Pierce?
I'm gonna vote no.
Mr. Avadinula?
I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
Vote is 3-2. Motion for approval, recommendation of approval with modifications.
So, members of the public, I would suggest, talk to Robin, come to the trustee meeting, make your concerns known to the trustees, either before the meeting, during the meeting, after the meeting. Do we have any other,
Yeah, we have some other business.
business before the commission?
I believe you have some minutes to approve.
Do we have the stamina to approve said minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Here,
read
I
them,
don't
but
think.
we will
Yeah.
just approve them.
Yeah. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the, oh, my glasses. September 10th,
yeah.
2024 meeting.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
Mr. McNulty?
Yes.
Mr. Bellis?
Abstain?
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Avadinula?
Yes.
Okay. All right, anything else before the commission?
Nothing